but I actually bought a hiking helmet. I got a bunch of REI gift cards, so
Oh,
I
really?
bought a helmet. I don't know if it's worth even bringing, but I've got it in case that would make sense.
I don't have one, so
Okay.
I'll just hike in front of you and kick rocks down.
That's right. I'll test out this. This helmet's terrible. Why the heck did I buy this?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Greens and Blues 14er podcast. This episode, Zach destroys Bowser in Mario Kart. I slay my Class 2 plus demons, and we share our experience on a pair of amazing Elk 14ers, Castle and Conundrum. Well, Dr. Zach, how are you doing today?
I'm doing okay, Eric. Before I get into my story, before I start to tell my funny tale, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Just got done recently doing a small part, very small part of the collegiate wilderness loop with some
Yeah.
friends. They did the entire 155, 160 mile loop. I joined them for about 45 of those miles in about 3 days. So that took it out of me, but it was fun.
How are your feet? The last time you backpacked, your feet got wrecked. How was
Yeah.
this?
Much better. I
Okay.
don't have no major blisters. There's some very minor ones that I was able to just kind of walk through, but yeah, nothing major like there was before. So I did something better this time. I changed a bunch of things, but something worked.
So
So,
this Collegiate Peaks loop, I think I
hmm
know what you're talking about.
I'm
It's
sure you
kind of
do.
where the CDT forks,
Yeah,
and
it joins
so
the CT as well.
or where did they start, or where did you start?
So they started and ended. They did the whole loop at Monarch Pass, and
Okay.
so they went up from Monarch. They went up the east side, and then they
Yeah.
kind of curved back down. And I met them at Cottonwood Pass, and then I hiked with them all the way back to Monarch. So I went with them on the west side of the loop.
Okay, so you did the end of their trip,
Correct.
essentially.
Yep. The
Okay.
last few days.
If you go from Cottonwood, do you go back down through the Three Apostles and like Lake Anne and all that?
They had done Lake Anne, I think the day before I met them.
Okay.
And from Cottonwood we could see the apostles. They had did kind of that area. They did, was it Hope Pass?
Oh yeah, I
Um
mean you and I've gone Hope Pass.
we did Hope. I know from the CT they mentioned that was kind of the crux of the trip, if you want to call it that.
That's
So
steep.
I think I just missed that. I maybe dodged a bullet a little bit, but yeah, it was long. Every day was long. I know every day they did was long. Every day we did was long, but it was fun. Really pretty views, tons of basins around. Yeah, it was really cool. So after that, my son and I hiked Peak 9 near Breckenridge, which was cool. It wasn't my first 13er of the season, but it was one of the first ones. So I'm getting a late start compared to you, Zach. You've hiked a ton of mountains already and you don't even live here, so you've got a leg up on me. So that's been me lately. I know you
You've
got
been making hay, buddy. You've been backpacking a lot this summer.
it's.
And you're about to backpack a little bit more too.
I
So
am. I'm looking forward to wherever you and I decide to go. There's one primary option and probably a few others that could sneak into the fold. So I'm looking forward to whatever that ends up becoming. So.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like you said, we were talking a little bit before we kind of went on the air here. I'm wanting you to share with our listeners some of the travails you've had in recent weeks.
So I live in Oklahoma, as I make frequent reference to, and I have like a Spanish style house. It's like the only one in Norman. I have a really pretty little courtyard, and so one night we had finished dinner, and I said, "Hey, I need to go water the plants in the courtyard." So we have like two doors that go into the courtyard, and so I open up this one door, and within like seconds, I feel like this intense pain in my neck. And I'm like, what the heck? And I like reach back and touch my neck. People can't see this, but I'm touching my neck and I'm like, and I
Yeah.
feel all these little things on it. And I
Oh.
realize within about 5 seconds, I was like getting stung by something.
Oh.
And I keep getting stung. And so, like, I started to run and I have like a gate to the courtyard. I swing the gate open and I'm like running out into my driveway going, ah. And finally, they kind of get off, and I realize that they were yellow jackets. And I'm
Oh
like, what
my
the heck just happened to me,
gosh.
man? Like, and of course it hurts.
Oh
So
man.
I'm like, what just went on here? So I go back. Okay, I probably should have said this at the beginning. I water that courtyard every other day because it's got
Mm-hmm.
little potted plants all over the place and it's
Yeah.
got pretty things that need to be watered in the Oklahoma heat. There was no trace of a yellow jacket nest 36 hours prior to this. They had, in like a 24-hour period, built a nest above our courtyard door.
Oh my
Like, and
gosh.
a fairly sizable one. So I saw that and I was like, what the heck? I've had a wasp nest hanging out in the corner of my courtyard all summer long. They're fine. We have an agreement. They're cool. They're really, wasps are pretty chill, actually, unless you like attack their nest,
Of course, yeah.
right? But of course, this is what happened is that's what these flippin' yellow jackets thought I was doing too. And so I don't know if this is cool to say this. I went absolutely medieval on this nest. I wiped it out with like the wasp hornet killer
The
spray
spray. Oh
that's
yeah.
like got like a 20-foot jet of like
Uh,
death. And I wiped it out and then I hosed it off and then I lit it on fire
oh my gosh.
and then I knocked it off with a broom. So
Oh man.
it was nothing left. I'm sorry if anyone's mad in the yellow jacket loving community, but um, that was the end of that.
Oh
Well, it
man.
actually wasn't the end of my night because I was realizing when I was a fish biologist, I got stung all the time. I've started now when I get stung, I swell up a little bit.
Oh
So I
man.
was like, man, I better go to urgent care. So I go to urgent care on a Wednesday night at like 7:30 and make sure I didn't have an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
So that was my lovely evening. And then there were a couple stragglers that like kept coming back to like check the spot because they have like a homing instinct, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yep.
those were dispatched as well. I guess the coda to this story is my Granny Simpson turned 99 the weekend of July. Well, her birthday's in mid-July, but is like we celebrated it on the 19th. Went to my
That's
granny's birthday
amazing.
out at my aunt's house. She has a house on Lake Worth in Texas. And I was pulling up the anchor for the jet ski and I got stung by a flippin' bee. So
Another one. Jeez.
I have put something into the universe that is retributive and it's killing me here, Eric.
The
So
stinging insect community has got something against you,
oh,
apparently.
I've done something wrong. So wrong.
Oh
So
man.
so that's my tale of woe. I'm excited to go to Colorado in about 9 days where there almost certainly will not be nests of yellow jackets and wasps awaiting me at 13,000 feet. So,
No, we might
um,
have some pikas chirping at us. That's hopefully the worst thing that we might run across. No
yeah,
nests of any nasty insects.
yeah. I mean, there were ticks in the sangres a few weeks ago, so I don't know. I guess I should mention that ticks weird me out, like
Yeah,
just the thought
that's
of those things crawling on me.
that'd be a rough
But
one.
anyhow, what are we talking about today, Eric?
What are we talking besides bee stings and foot blisters?
Yeah.
We got far more interesting and hopefully less painful things to talk about. A couple of 14ers in the Elks, Castle and Conundrum. We're gonna go
Hey.
through our journey there a few years ago.
Yeah, Eric and I hiked these together. So we actually have a trip report with a little bit of coherence in it. Um,
Let's hope.
Castle and Conundrum are fabulous peaks. They are picturesque. The castle really does look like a castle. They're in the Elks, which is an allure all of its own. The Elks are notoriously difficult peaks to climb.
Mhm.
Castle and Conundrum are by far the two easiest 14ers in the Elk range. So there's a lot to speak for Castle and Conundrum. It allows you to get two 14ers. I guess one's ranked and one's unranked, but
Yep.
still named
Yep.
in the same day. Yeah, just a really interesting too for people that are looking to get their introduction to the Elks. I think Castle and Conundrum are a good one. There's a little snow mixed in there, so if you want to hike on a
Mhm.
little bit of snow, you can do that. It's a probably a good introduction to difficult class 2 hiking for people that are looking for that. So a lot of it that drew us to these particular peaks.
For
So
sure.
do you have anything you want to add that's interesting about the Castle and Conundrum combo here?
Nope, that's a perfect introduction, Zach. So, with that, how do you get there?
Well, it's pretty easy to get there. I think the road out of Aspen is called, I think it's called Castle Creek Road.
I think so.
So you take Castle Creek Road for a ways. This is all described on 14ers.com, also in Jerry Roach. Even though Roach's last editions are 10, 12 years old, that part's still very accurate. Really, the trail has not changed materially in any way since then. So you take the Castle Creek Road until it forks off onto Forest Service Road 102. And at that point, your trip may begin or it may continue in a vehicle. So Forest Service Road 102 for the first mile or so is fine. It's totally drivable in a standard Colorado issued SUV slash Subaru Outback, whatever you got will be fine. Probably even take not like a sedan, but like an okay two-wheel drive on it.
Mm.
But after about a mile, the road gets significantly rougher. Eric and I tried unsuccessfully to take my Subaru Forester up that road. Most people say you could get a Forester another mile or so, mile and a half up the road. Mine was too dinky and did not have traction or torque or enough, low end to get up this road. And so we had to turn around. But I think with something with a little bit more bite or even just some all-terrain tires, you could probably get another mile up the road. And if you were to do that, there's lots of campsites along that stretch
Hmm.
of road. There's
Yep.
probably 5 campsites. If you can't do that, camping options become very limited. There's not a lot on Forest Service 102 before you get to that break point. I think you and I saw like one site and some dudes and some mountain bikes were there.
Some biker guys, yep.
Yeah, cool guys. And so since that spot was taken, we had to drive back all the way
Yeah.
to the junction with Castle Creek Road. And then you and I sat there, as I recall, and we're like, where the heck are we going to sleep
What do
tonight?
we do?
There is a parking lot there, and you could dirtbag it and just sleep in your car. Eric and I were not prepared to sleep in the car that night. So, what we had to do, I don't know if this is legal. We drove to the Cathedral Peak or Cathedral parking lot. So, we had to drive back down the road. And then there's a trailhead that goes to Cathedral Peak and to the pass near Cathedral Peak. And we went to the trailhead for that and parked in the parking lot and hid our tent with the car.
Kind of behind the car, yeah.
Yeah, we pitched a tent in the parking lot and
Literally
yeah, literally in a parking
on the
space.
gravel.
Yeah, and just camped out there that night, kind of hid out. So for those of you with cars that are more capable than a Forester, so a 4Runner or even a standard, I'd say just a half-ton truck with even just a fair amount of clearance, you can get up the road another mile or so fairly easily. And then we saw a number of people going quite a ways up that road
Hmm.
in various ways with Ford F-250s. We saw some crazy beans driving from a guy driving basically a stock 4Runner doing like 30 up this road.
I think we almost got run over by that guy, if I
Yeah, that guy
recall.
was. Here's a snarky remark though. But then we passed him going up the trail. So there's a lot of different ways to do this that will increase or decrease the amount of hiking you do during a day. I think Eric and I ended up hiking probably maximum distance,
About as much as you could, yeah.
about as much as you can or should. Whereas for those of you with a little bit more capable vehicles, you could probably get a little bit further up the road. There's a couple significant creek crossings that you have to do, as I
Yep.
recall, and those might be a little more difficult. What do you want to add to the access end of things, Eric?
I think you summarized it perfectly, Zach. And I would emphasize, like you said, if you've got the clearance and the capability, there were, as I recall, quite a few camping spots up that road
Mm-hmm.
that could be accessible to you. That, even on a weekend, you may have a chance of snagging one of those campsites if you have the ability to drive up there. So, yeah, otherwise, Yeah, we I think we maximized how much we were supposed to be able to hike for that one.
And now, if you don't have a capable vehicle, you may need to really think hard about where you're going to camp the night
Hmm.
before. That you should not count on the first mile of that Forest Service Road 102. You should maybe think about sleeping in your car or finding some alternative location, as Eric and I did. Plan B. We did not plan on that. And I normally don't like sleeping in trailheads because you never know who's going to wake you up in the night.
Yeah.
But we got up so early it didn't really matter. So
Yep. And then you can just drive up from wherever you camped up as high as you can on that road and get a secure parking spot and then just hike from there, which is basically what we did.
yeah, yeah. So from there, you're on your way. So Eric, do you want to kind of describe what the trail is like or what you're going to be dealing with? It's kind of a mix of things. So
It is.
we're out of our car now at some point. Where are we going and what are we doing?
We are hiking basically up a road for a good chunk of it. And again, you might get run over by someone that's able to drive really, really high on that road. But as I recall, that road was really long. So as
Yeah.
long as that initial road is driving in from Aspen and you're driving along, you're seeing all these nice, rich houses. It feels like you're hiking about that same amount of time to get from your car up to Montezuma Basin area,
Hmm.
if I recall. You're gonna kind of get there in the, 12:05 plus area. You'll be above tree line. Again, just be hiking on this long, stinking road until you can
Long.
have kind of have Castle and maybe Conundrum even too, sort of in your sights in the distance.
Castle definitely appears at a certain point, and you're like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, that's what I'm doing all this for here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that road is quite long. Makes me think of that Beatles song, "The Long and Winding Road."
Oh man, the Phil
Um,
Spector song, the orchestration and
yeah,
the massive wall of sound coming through. I wasn't
yeah.
singing that song on the way up, by the way, but that would have been
No,
a good one.
yeah, that's not my song for the day either, dude. But I remember a couple things from that road. These are very idiosyncratic to our hike. I remember the road being long and
Yeah.
but relatively easy because it is an old mining
Hmm.
road. So
Yep.
it's not a technical four-wheel drive road. So the grade is gradual.
It's gradual. Yep.
Um, and you're kind of being lured into this really cool basin the whole way. I
Hmm.
really like that Montezuma Basin a
It is
lot.
nice.
I remember also I had a banana about 11,800 feet, and I remember throwing it on the ground like Donkey Kong in Mario Kart and thinking, one of these cars is going to slide off the
They're gonna
road.
slip on that. Yeah.
And then you'll hear me go, woo, woo,
You're
and
right.
as this car slides off. Those are my major memories. And you and I just talking the whole time. But yeah, there's no route finding involved. Like if
No.
you're off the road, you've made a major mistake in your life. But then once you kind of notch into Montezuma Basin, then what happens, Eric?
So depending on when you're there, like what time of year, there's a fair chance you'll see quite a bit of snow in front of you, and you may have to traverse through it. I think we traversed around it going up.
We did it in like early July, and
That sounds right. Yeah.
there's a pretty significant snowfield there,
There
right?
was a lot
And
of
so like
snow.
I could see where in June or in wet years, good snow years, even probably through mid-July, you're probably going to have to walk up this snowfield. Throw on some gaiters, maybe bring I had an ice axe as I
You
recall.
did. You brought your ice axe.
At minimum, I would say gaiters are required for this journey if you're going anytime before August 1st. Yeah, you could skirt it to the right, but you could also just walk straight
Just
up this snowfield too if
go
you chose
through
to
it
do so.
if you've got the gear for it. Yeah. Like you said, we did it long after many snowfields would have melted on a 14er, and yet there was still a lot of snow there.
It just depends on time of year. You can check out conditions reports. I kind of think of this route as having four parts. So part one is the road
The
walk,
road.
however
Yep.
you choose to do that, and then that terminates. There's a point where like the road ends, and then you walk across some boulders, and then you go up this snow field, and that's part
Hmm.
two.
Yeah, so the next part is mostly good trail, getting up to 13.7, maybe even a little higher on
Mm-hmm.
just trail. And you're approaching the ridge at that point.
Very good
I'm not
trail at this point still.
great. great trail. And I
Yeah.
don't know if I recall any real highlights of that particular section. You're just after the snowfield, you're hiking on good trail and you're kind of looking for when the trail ends, what your steps are and the obstacles in the way at that point. So,
Yeah, and I would say that's the most grunty of it
mm,
in terms of the trail is good enough that you can move at a pace where it's going to be a little harder. You're gaining elevation pretty
you're
quickly on
gaining a
these
lot. Yep.
kind of slopes below Castle.
Yep.
And then that will take you to the ridge line of Castle, essentially, which constitutes part four, I think, of the
Hmm.
hike, which is 14ers.com has a great description of that section. Is there anything that you recall from the last pitch up the mountain?
I've got a few images of there being, I would say, moments of exposure. I don't think that it was sustained moves. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it was a long series of moves. I think it kind of came and went with, I would say, even just a number of footsteps where you were
Yeah.
exposed a bit, kind of walking and kind of using your hands to kind of keep your leverage around some rock obstacles as you kind of figure out, okay, where am I going to put my foot? And oh, there's a little bit of exposure behind me. And so I recall moments of that, not
Mm-hmm.
significant ones, but enough to where there was these images in my head of, okay, this happened. Like I remember this. I don't remember the trail as much, but I remember a few of those moves. So um
As I recall, I remember us having conversations. We were surprised by the solidity and security of the rock.
absolutely. And that reminded me of I think you had mentioned on the way up, one of the things we were talking about was I recall you mentioning that these peaks maybe were slightly different than a lot of the other elk peaks in that the rock was a bit different. It was more stable, not as crumbly, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Am I recalling that right?
The most notorious peaks in the Elks for bad rock are the Maroon
Of
Bells and
course, the
Pyramid, which
maroons.
is just
Yeah.
that. I mean, it's basically sandstone.
It'll fall right from under you.
Yeah, it'll crumble in your hands,
Yep.
and especially in a rainstorm. Whereas this rock was slate granite, and so you're able to grab holds, and it's secure. It's not balanced on itself or anything like that. So
Yeah. Felt secure for
even
sure.
though there are some steeper, slightly exposed sections here, the movement is fluid. The trail is intuitive enough, and in fact, we often found ourselves wanting to make a few slightly more aggressive class two plus, class three moves on that section because the rock was better if we kind of hugged to the ridge. I remember thinking, wow, Eric's surprisingly comfortable with this. So that's a testament to, I think, how nice that part of the hike is. And you can't move so fast through it that you're going to really gas out. You're having to take your time and pick holds, but it's really intuitive. It's a harder class 2 hike, but it's certainly not super difficult.
For sure. Anyone that has listened to our podcast know that I don't like exposure at all. And even though there was a bit of exposure with this, to me it was doable. Like you said, it's a testament to this how solid the rock is, how you're able to kind of route find around the obstacles that are there. And of course, you don't want to focus on the exposure. And if you don't, the rock allows for that to happen and allows you to make progress.
Yeah, I thought it was enjoyable.
It was, yeah,
Yeah,
for as crazy as that sounds for me to say.
I know it felt really intuitive. The route finding was pretty easy. I know the .com has blow by blow instructions on it, but I don't think we needed it. You're trying to stay on the left side of the ridge as you're working your way up.
Mhm.
You'll kind of go over a hump onto a saddle, and there's a kind of final pitch, and it's really not all that bad. And then you find yourself on top. Now we're going to include Conundrum here, but the view from Castle in and of itself is first rate.
Fantastic. Yep.
Fantastic. It's gorgeous. We're presuming you have visibility, but yeah, beautiful views of the Elks all around and the Sawatch off to the east. There's nothing kind of precarious at the summit. There's plenty of room for everybody to have
Mhm.
a snack. Yeah, and then if you want to, you can make your way over to Conundrum. Eric, how would you describe the thought process and the path over to Conundrum?
I would describe it as I would use a word that you just used a few minutes ago, grunty. I think
That's
getting
that's the
back.
most grunty part, actually, and we're about to get to the
Yes.
other grunty part, but yeah,
Yeah.
the descent off of Castle. What was that for you? Do you even
I
remember it?
I don't remember it that well, but as most descents are for me, they're pretty grunty. That kind of find where you're going and long step by step kind of getting down. To me, once you're at the saddle and going up Conundrum, I don't recall there being a whole lot of difficulty in finding your
It's
way. I
probably
don't.
why it's an unranked peak, because
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think it's got enough prominence. Ascending Conundrum was not hard.
I think it
Um,
was just finding some trail where there was trail. If there wasn't trail, I think the path was pretty intuitive and
yeah,
it's pretty straightforward. I think it's rated a class two, which feels pretty appropriate to me
totally.
from what I recall.
It
So,
feels more like a standard class two, whereas
yeah,
Castle feels like a hard class two. Yeah, that was pretty smooth sailing.
it
I
was
mean,
pretty
I think
straightforward.
at that point, if you've ascended Castle, Conundrum's gravy.
It's probably worth it too. Yeah.
Totally worth it. Offers a few more views of the peaks to the north, Cathedral Peak and Malamute and some of those peaks. It allows you to get another unranked 14er, which I like all the unranked guys myself, like liking Pluto as a planet.
I
But
love that we're comparing Conundrum to Pluto. That's awesome.
there's all kinds of Pluto hate out there. But yeah, I thought that was great. And that's actually where we ended up kind of hanging out and having lunch was
Yep.
on the summit of Conundrum. But then, Eric, this is where the road forks, my friend. So you've made it
Indeed.
up Castle, you've kind of negotiated the rock and all that up Castle, particularly that one last kind of pitch. You've descended off Castle, which is actually kind of probably the hardest part of the Castle Conundrum link up.
Mm.
You've gone up Conundrum. Now you want to go back. Tell me, Eric, what are the options?
Hmm. Well, if you don't have a car parked on the other side of Conundrum, then you're either making this an out and back, or if you were really, really, really inclined, you could go down from Conundrum to the saddle. And remember that snowfield we talked about earlier? Well, there's another one that I think generally stays there well into the summer, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
guess. If you were so inclined, you could hike down what looked to be a really steep little trail segment from the saddle down towards this large snowfield in the basin between Castle and Conundrum, and you could glissade down this thing. Man, we saw a few people do that. I'm pretty sure we saw someone do that without like an ice axe or a way
Yeah,
to
they
brake or
just
self-arrest or anything.
butt shimmied basically,
Just,
and then
oh
they
man.
and it runs out into a lake or into
It hit a lake at the end. Yep.
like a high mountain tarn. They stopped about 10 feet short of it. I was
I
like,
think
oh
they
man,
got
this is going to
lucky.
be bad if they land in there. But
Seriously.
you essentially have two options. One is to just go reascend Castle. For people that have heard the Buffalo Peaks episode, you should know that Eric and I believe in reascending things most of the time.
For better or worse.
And so we reascended Castle
Yeah.
because the drop off from the saddle between Castle and Conundrum, you will see it when you're there. The lead into that snowfield that people choose to glissade down is very steep. It's ball bearing gravel on top of sand. And so the 20 or 30 feet that you need to take to just get yourself to a position where you can slide down this thing is pretty precarious. Now, if the snow goes all the way up to the saddle,
Mm.
maybe that's a good play.
Might be more doable. Yeah.
But when we were there was about a 20, 30, 40-foot gap between the saddle and where the snow began.
Hmm.
And that was ugly dirt. I did not find that to be safe or worth it. I'm a big fan of glissading, love it, but that did not look right to me. So, and you were like, "No, we're not
Oh,
doing that."
that was fierce. I don't know if I've ever found myself in class four territory. If I did, it was not by design, and I don't know if that was class four, but it sure looked steep, precarious, bad. I just was not gonna touch it. Even though if you did decide to glissade down there, I mean, how much elevation would you lose?
Oh, you
Several hundred feet in the span of a few minutes,
yeah, you'd be shaving a good hour, hour and a half off
at
your descent.
least. Oh yeah.
Look, if clouds are rolling in and you got to get off that mountain,
That's
hey,
not a bad call. I mean,
maybe that's the way to
yeah.
do it. But I saw people doing it like I sound like Jerry Roach knocking on people with weird clothing, but like I saw people going down that thing in sneakers.
In Hoka's, yeah.
Yeah, and Hokas. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh
Yeah, the person
man.
without the ice axe, like, bro, that
Yeah.
is not the play here.
That,
Plenty of people do it. Plenty of people live. I don't think anyone's drowned in that lake or gone caterwauling down. Although one dude actually did kind of fall and tumble a bit as we watched, but there were a lot of people that were like yelling at each other, like, Frank, can you do it? I don't know. And they spent so much time checking it out and doing recon on
debating.
the
Yeah.
glissade and debating it that I think we ended up beating them down, a few of
We
them.
might have.
So yeah, that's where you as a hiker have to make a decision about your risk tolerance, about how much is it really worth to you to shave off a little time. Eric and I wanted, we needed the workout. We both have dad bods. So we went back up Castle. And to me, actually, the reascent of Castle was probably the most grunt part of the whole
Oh
darn
yeah.
trip.
Oh yeah.
Because at that point, you're kind of like, okay, this is all got left in the legs
Hmm.
today.
Yep.
So going back up that, I was like, whoo, whoo.
Yeah. There was
um,
wheezing happening.
Yeah, and then we got up there and then we descended. We met some trail runners, as I recall, on the descent. And I was like, I really hate you people. So they were the nicest people in the
They were
world.
super cool. There was this couple, yeah,
Yeah,
and yeah, really nice. Did not rub it in our noses.
no,
I'll say that. As much as we were
probably the
probably a
best
little
looking couple
jealous.
I've ever seen hiking too. Like they both look like models. He was handsome and she was gorgeous, and it was ridiculous. And then they start running down, and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
um,
we're just not worthy of any of this.
no,
Yeah.
Wayne and Garth
It
over
was
there
totally,
coming
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what we decided to do. I see people kind of debating it on Facebook, the Colorado 14ers page. Should I go down the saddle? My general advice is it's not the standard route, and it's probably not the standard route for a reason, kind of like
Mm,
on a lot of other peaks. I would say if you're anyway hesitant about that, or if you're not comfortable on that kind of terrain, don't do it to yourself, because then you may find yourself going down it and not being able to get back up it onto the
hmm.
saddle, and then you're committed. So
Yep.
that's kind of the fork in the road, as it were. And then at that point, you're just going back down. I did glissade, as I
You
recall.
did on that initial snowfield. And I took some video of you. I wasn't quite ready to do that, even though I really should have. That would have been a lot of fun. But I kind of traversed around it again as you were glissading and having a good old
I
time
think you
with
actually
a
beat
couple
me
other
down, but I
guys.
think I had more fun. So
You had a lot more fun for
I had to
sure.
wait for other people to go in front of me,
It's
but
true.
that was a solid glissade. It's not quite as good as the one from between Blanca and Ellingwood or the one off Crystal
Oh
Peak.
man, I can't
Those
imagine glissading down between Blanca and Ellingwood. Oh man,
That was
I
a
wow.
lovely, perfect glissade. But yeah, had a fun glissade down there, and then you're back on the road again. As I recall, I picked up my banana peel. I just want to say
Did you? I
that
don't
for
remember that.
Yeah, I picked it up and stuffed it in my pack. I didn't. The Donkey Kong bit wasn't funny to me anymore at that point. I'm gonna leave no trace, guys. I'm not gonna do that.
Yoshi didn't come and slip on it and then kick it off the road.
Peaches.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, then you're just kind of walking back down the road again, and there you go. Like all in all, if you start where we did, half a mile up Forest Service 102, I think it was about a 14 and a half, 15-mile hike.
That sounds about right, and it felt about right too by the
That's
time we were done.
about appropriate for how my legs felt by the end of that one.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't late in the day. It was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, but it was a full day
It
for
was,
sure.
and the weather held out too. We were thankful for that, and we probably needed it too. Again, having to go through that reascent of Castle, and we needed the weather window to allow us to do that.
Yeah, I would say for those of you considering this and you know you're not going to be able to get very far up that road, it's imperative that you leave early and
Hmm.
quickly.
And be
Because
ready for it.
this is one of the longer approaches to a 14er if you're walking that road, kind of Antero-esque in some ways.
Hmm.
So keep that in mind. What were your thoughts, impressions of Castle after having hiked it, Eric?
I would agree with you that it was in the upper two or two plus range. It was actually fun. Like I've
Hmm.
done a number of two pluses, and that was the most enjoyable two plus that I've encountered. Much of the route was intuitive It made sense. Where there wasn't a trail, it was pretty clear where you're supposed to go.
Hmm.
For being a more difficult hike that had some exposure, I actually enjoyed it. What are your thoughts, Zach?
Similarly, I had a lot of fun doing it. It's the right amount for guys like us. I think it's the right amount of challenge
Hmm.
per unit of hiking, right?
I love that
It's
mathematical equation you just put together. That was
yeah,
great.
it's if we put challenge in the numerator and unit of hiking in the
We're
denominator.
getting fractions in this now. Great.
Yeah, I've been doing those with my kid. Um, I really like that aspect of it, and you're just never going to beat views in the Elks. I mean, the
Hmm.
best Elks and the San Juans are the
The San Juans, I would agree.
best views in Colorado.
Mm.
The views up there are sensational. I think after you get to the end of that Montezuma Basin, boy, does it become a fun hike.
Hmm.
You got to pay your entry fee working your way up that road
It's
a
a good
little
way of
bit and
saying it.
dealing with some people driving past you, frankly.
Yeah.
But once you're up there, boy, it's cool. I thought it was great. I think it's one of my top five 14er experiences
Mm.
that I've had. So heartily recommend it. Eric, you said it was a class 2 plus. I'm going to totally agree with that. What do we want to rate this on the grunt factor, the efforculty scale?
And honestly, going back to the difficulty, there's a small part of me that's a little surprised that it's all the way at 2 plus because 2 plus is generally reserved for sustained 2
Yeah,
plus moves. And again, I felt like I guess there was a number of 2 plus moves, but I didn't feel like they were sustained. I felt like they were kind
they
of
weren't
spaced out.
consecutive. You
They
just
weren't
do one and
consecutive.
then you'd hike on rocks and then you'd do
Hmm.
another and
Hmm.
yeah.
So I guess yeah, from that standpoint, the 2 plus does make sense, but it might be maybe it's a little on the easier side of 2 plus. Can I even
Hmm.
say that? I don't even know if that's
It's kind
a
of
thing.
if anyone's hiked Mount Hope that's
Mm,
listening to this, it's really similar to the difficulty of Mount Hope
yeah, I agree with that.
or the last stretch up Mount Harvard. It's
Mm,
like doing four of those. You're just kind of finding your way on some rocks.
hmm. And you need to use your hands sometimes, and if you look behind you, you might see a bit of airiness, and
Yeah.
but otherwise, it's not the worst thing in the world for someone that
No.
doesn't like exposure. Grunt wise, this was this was pretty high for me. 14, 15 miles, long
On the
approach.
long and winding road.
Who sang that? I forget
That's
which Beatles
Paul.
sang that song. Was it Paul?
Yeah.
Okay. If you do have to reascend Castle like we did, that just adds to it as well. So I think it was pretty high. Eight?
I think that's about right. It's probably one of the longer day hike 14ers that you can do. Antero from the bottom of the flippin' road. That's another one. Um, Eric's cracking up. There's a few of those that are kind of long, or like Holy Cross. I think it's got about the same amount of elevation
Oh, I
gain and
think
loss
that's
as
about the right round trip
as
too. Yeah.
as Holy Cross. Yeah, it's about the same amount of time as Holy Cross. So I'd say
Yeah.
that handful of kind of real long day hike 14ers.
Yeah.
And this one, I mean, you could, if you wanted to, backpack up in there. If you can't get your car up there, you could backpack in and trim a little bit of time off.
Hmm.
In hindsight, I kind of wish you and I had done that first day, Eric. Just
That's a
schlep
great
the
idea.
packs up about 3 or 4 miles and cut down on what the next day is going to look like. But I would agree, class 2 plus ish, and then efforculty of about 8. All right, Eric, it's time now. If your peak was a song, what song would it be? If Castle and Conundrum or Castle or Conundrum were songs, what would they be?
I know you mentioned it took you a bit to think of a song for this. Mine came to me right away. So
Of course it did.
it doesn't always happen that
You
way,
just
but
have a hoard of song knowledge that you just sit on. So
oh, you make it sound like I'm being selfish with that.
mm-hmm.
I would go back to the mid 90s, and I won't say what the song is just yet, but there was a recording done. It was intended to be a demo tape, basically by one man. This guy wrote every song, he sang every vocal, he played every instrument except for one little guitar line on one song. And he went into the studio, intended for it to be like a demo tape, and it ended up blew up. Lots of people ended up loving it. It became the debut album for this band and just
I
became
know where you're
huge.
going here,
Yeah,
brother. I can
I
feel
think you
it.
know exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. So fast forward to I believe it was 2022. You, Travis, and I go after Mount Lindsay, and you and Travis made it to the summit. I got really sketched out in the gully. We took the gully route, not the
Hmm.
ridge. And we got to the top of that, and I said, I'm done. Tapped out. I just sat up there for a couple hours. You guys scrambled to the top. I just sat there and ate my trail mix and checked out the awesome views of Huerfanito and Iron Nipple and everything else around. But I didn't ascend it. Didn't finish. So never really stuck in my craw, but I was a little disappointed I didn't make it. So fast forward to summer of 2023 when you and I hike Castle Conundrum. We could have chosen to just, phone it in, so to speak, and hike something much easier, find a 13er that would have been easier to do. But no, we decided to get right at it and say, no, we're going to do a 2 plus 14er again. We're going to try this out. And so we did. Castle and Conundrum, and like we just described, we made it to the summit of both of them, and I was really happy about that. And so my song for Castle is by the Foo Fighters, their debut album in 1995. Their first single is a song called This Is a Call, and the chorus is really simple. It just says, "This is a call to all my past resignations." And that summed it up. That was my way of saying, you know what? Lindsay was Lindsay. That's fine. I'm gonna move on from that. I'm gonna summit this 2 plus 14er, and we got it done. So I'm going with the Foo Fighters. This is a call for Castle and Conundrum. So
Rock and growl, man. Rock and growl. That's
yeah,
awesome.
I've never heard that phrase, but rock and roll, that's pretty good. I'm gonna
I
have
have a
to.
t-shirt with Dave Grohl's face on it that says rock and growl on it.
I am looking for Christmas presents, and if you happen to be able to send that to me, I will gladly take that. That would be
Hey,
awesome.
Eric turns a certain number next year, don't you? I think maybe that
That's a
may,
big number.
yeah, it's got a zero after it. I think we may get you that little rock and roll t-shirt for that. But
Wouldn't mind that at all. So, what's your song for Castle and Conundrum, Zach?
it doesn't really fit much at all, but most of you know Eric and I we're two Gen X kids that share a love of a certain period of music,
Mm.
80s and 90s, as seen by the Dave Grohl reference earlier. Your musical sensibility, I've always located it somewhere around like the music that you kind of center yourself on. There's some bands that I've always kind of associated with you. One
Mm.
of them is the Gin Blossoms. I've
Oh
always
man,
I've always just kind of been like, yeah, Eric's a Gin Blossoms kind of guy, right?
I
And the
like it.
other band that I've always associated you with is Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Oh, one of my all-time favorites.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And this was just I remember every time I hike with you, I kind of have this Eric soundtrack in my head. I actually have a playlist on my phone of like
You
hiking
do.
with Eric, and it's got a bunch of these songs on there.
Yeah.
And the song I was thinking about when I recalled this hike was Walk on the Ocean by Toad the Wet
Oh
Sprocket.
man.
And it's funny because there's nothing about Castle and Conundrum that are ocean-like in any
There's
way,
no
other
no
other than
ocean there.
there's a lake. But I just love the chorus too. Walk on the ocean, step on the stones, flesh becomes water, wood becomes bone. And it's just that real image of just grounding yourself in something bigger than you.
Mm.
And that's what I really liked about. And then there's this moment at the very end of the song where it says, now back at the homestead where the air makes you choke, people don't
Hmm.
know you and trust is a joke.
Yep.
There's a real sense of disillusionment there that they felt about like going back into the world. And sometimes I feel that when I hike, but just that kind of expansive feeling that Toad can kind of evoke in their songs. And I really associate it's kind of a buddy song. I'm like, man, I need to represent Toad or Gin Blossoms when I'm talking about Eric. So that's the song I'm going to pick today.
Dude, I love
But
it.
as we were doing this, I was like, man, I should have picked the Beatles' Long and Winding Road.
Uh, Paul would have been proud.
Paul McCartney. It's the long and winding road.
Da,
Um,
da, 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 da,
yeah, it's a
da.
great tune.
Yeah.
Better than the road, actually. Better than the
That's a
Montezuma
good
Road.
call. That's a good call.
So, okay, enough fun and games here. Are there any places to eat nearby?
Boy,
Have you ever
the
even eaten a meal in Aspen?
the
I don't think I have.
I think we as a family we probably ate at a burger joint one
Yeah.
time, and then I think there's probably a banana tree that grew from your peel on the road the day we did it. But other than that, no, don't have much Aspen dining experience at all.
So there is a place apparently, Eric, if we ever return, that makes crepes.
Oh, sweet. They got like a crepe joint.
Yeah,
Okay.
they got a creperie.
Man.
And there's a place that hikers love called the Big Wrap,
Oh, man.
that's got, wraps type stuff, burritos and whatnot.
Okay.
As a New Mexican, I can't call them a wrap because that violates all kinds of sensibilities.
But does the Big Rap have any green chili? Do they have anything on their website about that?
I think I saw that, or maybe they would throw anchos or something. I don't know. It's probably too shishi for me. But, and for those of you that want to roll like the Kardashians, I found an
Oh,
article
man.
where apparently they like Matsuhisa, which is a sushi place.
Oh, wow.
So if you want to do as Kim and Courtney and the other one whose name starts with a K and Kylie? No, yeah, it's Kylie Jenner, but I don't know who the third Kardashian is.
I
You
don't
can
know.
go eat sushi at Matsuhisha or Matsu. Good God, yeah, Matsuhisa. That's what it's called.
That's how much we know about it.
That's how much I know
Um,
about it. I mean,
I
we're
love it.
you and I are firmly middle class dudes.
Yeah.
Bring a lunch. That's, in other
There you
words,
go.
bring a lunch and a dinner. Eat
Oh
your
my
meal
gosh.
somewhere else.
Yeah, there's.
So that's our food we'll be here at Yelp all week giving food
Oh my gosh,
recommendations.
that's great.
Oh,
Oh,
woo. Oh, and I can't recommend highly enough, I should add this, eating breakfast in the parking lot for Cathedral Peak Trailhead. Have,
before or after we take our tent down?
yeah, I think during. I think like I had the
During.
water boiling as we were breaking down the tent.
Oh, that's great.
So, anything else you want to add to our Castle and Conundrum episode here, Eric?
No, Zach, I think we summarized our experience well. It was a fun hike. It was a worthwhile hike. It was a tough hike, or I should
Yeah,
say a long hike and energy draining hike, but well worth it. Great experience. So I loved it.
me
How about
too.
you, Zach?
Great company, great views, great peak. Totally recommend if any of you want to hire Eric to hike it with you. I hardly recommend the entire experience.
Throw me in the snowfield while you're at it.
Well, if anyone wants to send us food recommendations for Aspen or send us questions for a future Q&A episode or tell us we're wrong about something, where can they reach us, Eric?
Oh man, if they want to tell us we're wrong about something, there's lots of good options to do that.
I will
So
send you my boss's email address and you can send it to her.
here comes that raise. So we actually have a website that is set up by our host, Podbean. So that website is greensandbluespodcast.podbean.com. And when you're there, you can find basically every way to get a hold of us that is out there. So our Facebook group, our YouTube channel, which has some great videos, Zach, of you summiting some 13ers in the San Juans and I believe the Sangres, if I'm not mistaken, in recent weeks. Our email address is on there, which is greensandbluespodcast@gmail.com. You can Blue Sky Zach. I don't think there's a link on our website yet for that, but you can find Zach Simpson at Blue Sky. And we have a new feature which we're kind of beta testing. You could leave us a voicemail on your computer. If any listeners want to give that a shot, I think it would be awesome if you would. It's through a website called Mic Drop. So just go to our website. There's a link to the Mic Drop website, which should just take a couple clicks and maybe a small configuration of your web browser. Then you just click record, record a 30-second voicemail into your computer, and then we will get it and we can respond. We might use it on the air during a recording sometime if you leave a voice message, but we'd love to hear from our listeners that way too, if you're so inclined.
That
Did I
would be
miss anything,
fun.
Zach?
Something for the thought line. No, I think
Mm,
that's it, man. I think
okay.
glad you relayed that. I hope everyone has been enjoying their hiking this summer. We look forward to talking to you again next time. Love the Bowser reference. That's
I had to
great.
throw something in there.
I was always Yoshi. So
That's all I ever used was Yoshi. If I was Toad, I'd get run over. If I was Bowser, I was going too slow. So yeah,
yeah,
Yoshi was perfect.
Yoshi was just the Goldilocks of Mario Kart.
Yeah, he's just right.
Just right. Him and Peaches.
Yeah.
Him and the
Peaches
princess.
got it.
Yeah.